Newstalk ZB.
23 minutes away from 8. Monday morning, the Prime Minister is with us. A very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
A couple of things off the super plan announced yesterday. Is it a bottom line for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
so in a coalition, it will be a bottom line. It will happen.
Yep, it has to happen because we have to put the country on a much better pathway on savings and investment. We've actually already started it. We did it at the budget, moving it from 6 to 8%, and this is a continuation of that.
Okay, where do the coalition partners sit on it as a broad idea?
Well, I think Winston's expressed in the past. I've heard him speak. He sort of said that he wanted to increase contributions as well. That's a positive thing. The means by which we may, he wanted to go about it might be different, but at this point, I think I don't actually know why it is so political. I think it's actually a common sense thing. If you look at places like Ireland and Australia that are wealthier, they actually have higher retirement savings.
No, the only reason I'm asking is there's no point in announcing a policy if it doesn't look like it's potentially never going to see the light of day. So you need one bottom line.
As a national party, big party in the government, we expect to be able to...
But you need your coalition partners roughly to be alongside with the idea.
Yep, sure. And that's the stuff that we go through when we get on the other side with an election and get coalition agreements together.
Can you in some way... We had Murray Harris on from Milford Asset, and he said one of the biggest problems... He likes the idea, but one of the biggest problems around superannuation from you guys... You've got to stop changing the rules.
Yeah, but I think there's a couple of things. On national superannuation, we're saying that stays, that's all fine, but you're going to need to augment it with bigger Kiwi savers retirement savings. I think there's been, even you've heard business leaders talk about this. I think this is quite common sense. I mean, ultimately, it's about building.
Yeah, but it is. But I mean, you know what's happened since KiwiSaver has been a thing. Governments go, we're going to have a contribution. Whoops, no, we're not going to have a contribution. Oh, we'll make it $1,000. Oh, whoops, we'll make it $500. Set it up, leave it alone.
Yeah, well, there'll have to be some tweaks on the margins from time to time. But what I'm saying is, setting ourselves on a pathway. This is a long-term thing. It gives people time to adjust. I think it's incremental steps. It makes all good sense.
Okay, another cut this week in the interest rate, the cash rate.
Last time I spoke about that, I got into serious trouble.
What would your hope be?
Well, I've noticed that forecasters are talking about a 25 basis point, which would be fantastic because that would be the 9th cut that we've had under government, and that would be a 325 basis points cut since we came to power. And if that gets transmitted out to commercial rates, which it will do, that puts a lot of money in people's back pocket.
Here's the downside of that. Have you seen our dollar? I asked you about this a couple of months ago. You didn't seem overly worried about it. You should be now. I mean, at 42p, 87 Australian, What's that say about the New Zealand economy?
Well, it says that we've still got work to do, but it's obviously very good for our exports, and that's been a good thing. And you've seen a $12 billion growth in exports, I think, in the last 2 years. So, the dollar is a floating dollar, as you know, and we've got to get the fundamentals of this economy right.
But we look like a poor country that the world doesn't like the look of. I mean, that's what a dollar is, isn't it?
Well, that's what I was alluding to yesterday, was saying in my speech, was that when Australia's 25% wealthier, Ireland's twice as wealthier, Singapore's 3 times as wealthier per person, we actually need to have a conversation about what we are doing to build out the future. We're fixing a lot of basics the last 2 years, as I've said, but we've actually, with ideas like the savings and investment things and other things, we've got to build out where we want to go. And we've got great potential in the country, but we've damn well got to go get it.
And that's what the election year is all about. You won't have read the whole thing, but do you have a broad understanding of what they said about the COVID inquiry in Britain?
No, I mean, I saw some headlines on it.
Lockdowns weren't necessary.
Yeah, right.
Lockdowns weren't necessary in Britain because, and we did exactly the same thing. You weren't here, of course, at the time. But at the end of the day, what are we going to find out in COVID 1 and 2? And if we find out the same thing, i.e. lockdowns weren't necessary, what do you do with that?
Well, it's very helpful for, should we ever, God forbid, have another version of a pandemic. It will inform the thinking around all of that. My frustration on it, as you know, and that's why I wanted the terms broadened out, was really about the economic damage that was done during that period. We were the second biggest spending country on earth proportionately. Wow. We had the longest COVID hangover, which we've dealt with. We had $66 billion go walkabout that no one knows where the hell it went. And you didn't have Ardern, Hipkins or Robertson actually front that commission to actually explain what the hell they were thinking at that time.
But imagine the difference in the economy if we'd never locked down.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Mike, I spent a lot of time with tourism and hospitality. Those people are incredible. You remember the COVID period where their businesses just crashed, zero. They came through that. They've come through now the recession that was caused by that COVID hangover. and now we're trying to get the show moving again.
Now, is something going wrong with COVID too? Andrew Sweet's quit. There's a number of resignations from that inquiry. Do you know why? What's going wrong?
No, I'm not aware. I'm not close to that. I mean, Brooke Van Velden's in charge of that, but and she may know better. But I'm sorry, I'm just not.
But you don't. But she doesn't come to you. You don't get her to go, why are these people resigning? I mean, why would you take on an inquiry and then quit from it unless something's not right?
I just don't know. I mean,
okay.
I don't know. Honestly.
Should I inquire of other people?
Should I inquire
of
Brooke
Van Velden and tell what the hell's going on? Is there something dodgy going on? Now, do you want to talk about the coup?
The what?
The coup.
What coup?
The Chris Bishop coup. He's coming for you.
Look,
this is what I'm listening.
Can I be honest? It's quite hard to take this seriously because I've read all of this before. The whole 4 years I've been in politics.
I'm listening to Heather Duplessis-Allen. He's coming for you.
Look, I don't think that is the case. He is a great minister. He's a good friend, and he's doing an awesome job.
How come? Where has all this come from then?
Look, I don't know. It's hard to take it seriously, as I said before. I've been reading this stuff and hearing this stuff ever since I came here. So, but I'm very focused on what I've got to do.
You will lead the National Party to the election in 2026.
Absolutely.
No question.
No question.
The monetary policy, are you following the Fed at all? And do we need, in this country, the Monetary Policy Committee to be able to speak openly about how they're feeling about the economy at any given stage? Because what you got at the moment is the Fed, and you got somebody going, I don't think we need to cut. You got somebody else mirroring going, I think we need to go 50 points. Somebody else in the middle goes, I think 25 is about right. So you get a vibe. You understand, what they're thinking.
Yep.
Why don't we do that here?
We started to. I mean, we have the formal committee meetings, and then, as you know, they've actually started to express what the votes were, say, on things like interest rate cuts. So you might remember there was 6 people on that. I think it was a 4-2 decision once before on not proceeding with a cut.
But you don't know who they are.
No, you don't. But equally, you do kind of want some coherence so that you get a clear beam from that group as to what they actually are thinking and one point of view, I think, versus multiple voices and just more commentariat and more. That would be my preference.
I'm just all about.
I think it kind of
I'm
works
just
quite
about
well.
Transparency. That's all. The bloke you sent to Brazil, was that a wasted airfare?
No, it's important we're there. I mean,
what for?
Well, I mean, it is a global forum. I mean, I think you got to ask some questions about COP, and actually, when you look at what the hell's actually achieved the last few weeks in particular, I don't know if this has been its finest moments, and I think there's some serious questions to ask for the future about that body. But look, I mean, we put a delegation together, a small delegation. They went over. It's important they participated. They weren't there the whole time. And it keeps us informed with what's going on and where people's heads are at on it all.
Because what Simon said, he intervened. Well, did he intervene? He made a comment about the carbon market, right? And he was trying to reassure people who would participate in the carbon market that you guys are serious about climate change. And it strikes me that you're sort of caught between a rock and a hard place at the moment, because what you're doing policy-wise makes perfect sense. But equally, you're trying to pretend you're all for 2050 and net zero and wahoo.
Yeah, well, let me talk to that, because, I mean, we are for net zero 2050. That's been legislated.
You are, but
we all are in
carbon
that.
Market, though.
And actually, when you look at our plans, we think we might even get there a bit early. Yeah. But we're not going to do dumb stuff. Like, I mean, honestly, the last lot wanted to shut down, I think, 25-30% of sheep and beef farmers and send it all over farms overseas. We're not sending billions of dollars overseas. We're not going to send jobs overseas. So we are going to make our own, that's why we've realigned the ETS, for example, to our own domestic targets.
But that's what he said. That's why Simon was interviewed, because as a result of you doing all of this shuffling and shifting, no one's buying carbon credits. Each time the auction comes up, no one buys anything.
Yeah,
no. Buy anything. They don't believe a word you say.
Yeah, well, but partly because it was mucked around a hell of a lot. And as a result,
you were doing the mucking around.
No, we've kept it pretty stable up until just recently, where we've just moved the alignment to our domestic targets.
Participating in the auction?
They haven't participated for years. They haven't cleared. An auction hasn't cleared.
That's because both you and Labor, keep mucking around with it. All I'm saying is, why have an auction for something no one wants?
Well, I'm trying to make sure that I can control what we can control, which is our domestic goals and our domestic targets. That's the priority for me. Mm-hmm. And making sure ETS, which was a domestic policy tool before Paris was even signed up for, actually should be helping and hooked up to helping us deliver on our net zero 2050 goals. The net zero 2050 is very doable, very possible. And then we've gone through and said simple things like we don't need agricultural pricing. Actually, there's a heap of technology coming. You can increase productivity and manage emissions well. And I genuinely believe all of that. So we are changing the settings. I make no apologies about that, but we're doing it to align to what we can control and what we set up. will give the NDC stuff a good go, and we've even aligned NDC 2035 back to our domestic goals because there was a massive disconnect there sitting there. That has to be sorted.
Next week it's present swap time because it's the final week of the program.
So what day are you officially going on holiday?
The following Friday. The following Friday.
Oh, I'm so looking. Listeners, I mean, this is marvellous, isn't it? I mean, the man gives me grief for the lack of time I spend in Parliament, and my people are working down there, and he's buggering off for like December, January, February, March. Are you back by May or when?
Yeah, no, I'm coming back early in the year.
Good.
You've had 1 week off this year, I think. Is that correct?
That's what it's called. It's called working 20 hours a week, Mike. 7 days a week.
Is that what it is?
You got a hell of a lot of work to do. To turn this country
is
around.
my show run better than this country is run?
Listeners, this is his pitch to become the Minister of Broadcasting. Watch this space.
Exactly. Anyway, we'll swap presents next week.
That'll be fun, mate. Get ready. Giddy up.
Whoa, okay.
I've been thinking about this for a while.
Have
so
you?
you better stump up.
I'll bring it. Don't worry.
Good.
13 away from 8.